So first of all, let me thank you very much for all of your attention and your contributions today. Hopefully you found the process enjoyable, you learned some new things, you maybe even made some new contacts and networks among the many people that are in the room here today. Whenever we do one of these engagement processes, there's a number of ways and formats that we can arrange things. And when we set out to plan this event for today, we tried to find a way to bring together as diverse of perspectives as we could, give you an opportunity to talk about some of the items that you heard here this morning. You heard from the Premier and ministers in the morning and the afternoon a lot of interesting information about initiatives and their plan, and obviously we couldn't talk in depth about all of them. But hopefully you felt like you had an opportunity to talk about those that were most important to you or those that you felt you had the most to contribute. This won't be the end of the conversation, however. There will be an opportunity certainly to comment on other things as we go forward. But we wanted to give you a bit of a summary of what was said across all of the various rooms and discussions in the morning session as well as the afternoon session. So each of you in your breakout rooms, you would have received 2 report backs already where you had an opportunity to hear what others in your particular room said about the discussions. That process was repeated across all 5 rooms. All of those summary slides that each of you saw in the 5 breakout rooms are being posted to the wayforward.gov.nl.ca website. They should be there actually before you leave the building today. So all of that is available for you to view. We will also, within the coming hours and hopefully within the next little while, once we finish clearing up all of our things here today, we will also be posting all of the raw comments and data. So all of that really rich discussion that happened at your tables was captured by your note taker. All of that has been put together and collated, and we will be posting that publicly as well. So you will get a chance to see what others in the room said. You'll get a chance to see what those who joined by the virtual session also had an opportunity to contribute, and it will also be an opportunity for people who were not joining us here today to hear what was said and what your ideas were. So lots of information for you to look at after you leave the session here today. But I did want to give you a snapshot of sort of a summary piece of how things looked throughout the day across all the various topics. So this is a reflection of some of the ideas that we saw reoccurring most frequently throughout the morning and the afternoon sessions. It is not an in-depth analysis. The team who will be working on this information will certainly be digging into that over the next couple of days, but just to reflect back to you an idea and a sample of what was said. Next slide, please. So in the morning, we talked about and focused on the securing our footing topic. And under the topic of public sector efficiencies, you had a lot to say. Generally, when we went across the information that we themed, there was an amount of general support for reduction in the agencies, boards, and commissions. Zero-based budgeting was talked about quite a bit as well, but it was stressed that there needed to be some sensitivity in the zero-based budgeting and how it was done. There was strong support for a flatter management system. There was, however, also concern expressed over how you maintain leadership and skills when you flatten out a management system, as was discussed here this morning. There was strong support for the reduction of silos across government. There was much discussion as well around performance management and accountability and how important that is. Timelines and ideas could be more aggressive and precise. We heard that repeated across a number of different areas and discussions. There was also some suggestion that public-private partnerships should be considered. It was actually interesting in that public-private partnerships came up a lot today, and it came up across a number of discussion questions and a number of discussion cycles. There wasn't a clear consensus on whether P3s were wonderfully strong or wonderfully bad, but there was a lot of discussion and debate around the topic on a variety of different ways. Opportunities exist to do a program-by-program review. People felt that that was something they'd be interested in seeing. But there was a lack of clarity on how targets will impact service delivery and particularly service loss in rural communities. Some concerns expressed around those. So that was just a few examples of some of the things that you all said under the public sector efficiencies topic. Under the topic of economic development, we heard strong support for a focus on food security. We heard that there was a need for initiatives for value-add industries and greater focus on innovation. Thanks, Andy. That the green economy poses opportunities that should be explored. There was an interest on focusing on a multi-year planning cycle. That there is a need to consider climate change, economic development, and population shifts in infrastructure decisions. That there's a need to support long-standing industries such as the fisheries so that they're not forgotten. To encourage entrepreneurship particularly as a path for young people, a need to ensure innovation systems pilot is different from past approaches. Lots of great debate and discussion on that topic, actually. Need to support regional collaboration was expressed as well. People were quite in favor of that collaborative piece, but lots of debate and discussion on what it should look like. And that regional opportunities need to be flexible and driven by communities. So then we switched over to the afternoon session. So this one is really hot off the presses because you remember just stopped talking about them moments ago. So we've been working away very quickly up there to be able to reflect this piece back to you. So here's a summary of some of the things that you said around the better outcomes discussion. We had a ton of information that we captured on the better outcomes, and this is just a snapshot of it. That there's a strong need, I'll just give you a bit of a summary on this one. There was a lot of discussion on the better outcomes. Generally speaking, you'll see in this list, there was mostly positive reaction to the things that the Premier and Ministers announced and discussed here today around improving outcomes, but there was a lot of discussion on the how and how you get there and what that means. So lots of great debate and discussion on that. It was we certainly heard that there was a need to focus on healthy living and discussion around initiatives such as junk food tax and access to healthy food. Need for multidisciplinary healthcare teams was expressed. Support for individualized funding model, but there was a concern expressed that we need more details on what that will look like and how it will be implemented. Set targets to be the healthiest population in Canada. A focus on improving math skills. More innovation in the health system. Mental health and addictions should be a priority focus. We saw that across a number as well. Labor market and life skills for youth was talked about. A need for supporting greater alignment for Memorial University and the College of the North Atlantic, and also a need to collaborate with the K-12, between the K-12 system and businesses. A focus on early learning and childcare was desired. Interest in a focus on immigrant retention. Focus on attracting skilled labor. Support for foreign qualifications being better recognized as well. But again, in this particular topic, lots of discussion, lots of feedback for us to go through in a more in-depth way. But lots of ideas and initiatives that people are interested in talking a little bit more about or knowing some more of the specifics on. And so the final one that you just finished talking about a few moments ago was on the topic of better services. We heard there was lots of discussion around support for a multi-year community grant funding. That idea was quite favorable to many people. There was support for service standards and implementing those on a go-forward basis. Support for one-window service delivery and the one-stop shop approach. Access to broadband and digital divide were an issue. When moving to digital by design, that issue was raised in a number of ways. But there was strong support for the digital by design concept. And there was a strong question that came up a number of times about how the 1-800 number will work. So that's just a quick summary, Premier and Ministers, of what people were discussing in the rooms today. We have a whole package of more detailed information that staff will be working on to provide you a bit more of an analysis to give you the information that you need to make the decisions that you have coming forward. But hopefully this reflects, to those of you in the audience and those of you who are watching from home, a sense of how the discussions were around your table this morning and this afternoon. I want to thank you all very much for your open and frank and respectful conversations. I've heard from all of the room facilitators that they thought they had fantastic rooms, no shortage of ideas and input to be shared, and certainly lots of interest in continuing the conversation on some of these topics. So now, Premier, I will invite you back to close out the day.
Well, thank you, Michelle, and certainly what has been a very busy day for most of you in this room, and from the feedback that we've received so far, and I know the number of tables that I got a chance to visit, there was certainly a broad and wide range of feedback. So I want to thank you for committing your time, not only just your time, but the expertise that you brought to these rooms today. There's no doubt that the feedback that we received today will help shape the future of our province. It will help us and this government finalize all aspects of our vision, which will guide all future actions by government and promote prosperity in our province. This place has a long history of innovation and determination, and we will focus on that and arrive at the shared view of the future. Government must be redesigned to address our challenges. We can no longer afford to be bound by short-term thinking. We must think and act in a way that is long-term and across all levels of government. Thinking long-term, our priorities must move to building for our future. Last fall, when I was designing our cabinet, I took on the responsibility for Aboriginal affairs. It was important to me to convey to our Aboriginal people that their concerns were one of my top priorities. So I want Aboriginal leaders to feel confident that there are real opportunities for us to work together to make positive change. To create these opportunities, I will annually invite leaders of Aboriginal governments and organizations, including the Native Friendship Centres and Aboriginal Women's Associations, to meet to establish priority actions. This will be our Leaders' Roundtable with Aboriginal governments and organizations. We will shape this agenda together. A stronger relationship with Aboriginal people is part of building for our future. Our future must be diverse and inclusive. We come from all walks of life, but we must walk together. In order to take this walk together, we need to be fit for the challenge. This is particularly true when we consider the determinants of health: where we live, how we work, the foods we eat, the activities that we enjoy. Each of these things shape our physical and mental health. Our health impacts our spending, but more importantly, it impacts our collective prosperity. Our government will place health as the forefront of our decisions. A health in all policies approach ensures that the impact of health is considered in all our policies and initiatives. When designing our transportation system and building schools, when providing early learning experience for our youngest residents, we will design these actions with health in mind. There are health considerations in all the decisions that we make. Our goal is to prevent illness and create the healthy environments needed to support and promote not only healthy people, but also a healthy economy and improved outcomes in education, employment, and crime prevention. Our Health in All Policies approach, and the many others that we presented today, are intended to result in a province where young people can build their futures, where businesses can invest with confidence, and where cultural expression thrives. This is our vision for the future. Part of looking to the future is considering where we've come from. Our foundation has provided us with opportunities to be innovative and to be able to diversify. We went from fish harvesting and processing to aquaculture and found a way to ocean technology. This is smart diversification. This is leveraging similar opportunities. We have to once again bring this innovative approach to our fishery, and we will transition from shellfish to groundfish. Collaboration with the industry will be key, which is why our government is establishing a Fisheries Advisory Council to provide advice on what the industry needs to support a successful transition. This will include advice on pursuing product quality assurance and deploying new technologies throughout the value chain, the development of sophisticated logistics and supply networks, and finally, the creation of new markets to build competitiveness in the global groundfish industry. However, what we need to do with the fishery is representative of the approach that we need to use across all sectors. Each of you in this room and the organizations you represent, you have a role to play. For the private sector players in the room, economic diversification is one of the key things you can contribute to your future. The private sector has been calling on government to support economic diversification for some time, and this is one of our priorities. For the arts and the community sectors present, you have elevated the recognition of your culture nationally and internationally for years. With labor, you maintain and protect the social fabric of our province, and I thank you for that. Our vision is of a province where government spending is tied to achieving better outcomes, where government maximizes opportunities for the people it serves, and where best practice is the standard of which government is accountable. Realizing that vision will require all of us to play a part. Your contributions today are integral to our success, and it will help us on the way to the next major announcements related to the future of our province. On October the 27th, our government will provide the fall fiscal update and economic update. Later this fall, our government will launch our vision, a plan for sustainability and growth. Your valuable feedback today will help shape our vision. Today, you were presented with a sample of the actions that our government will take to build a sustainable future. The sample is representative of our thinking, but is not exhaustive. There is more to come. Our government has much work to do, and we look forward to pursuing that work with you, the people that we serve. Today, we presented a first look on the path forward. This plan offers hope. We have a suite of actions coordinated across government that are meant to see us to a better place, and we will soon launch a vision which is built with your input that will ensure we adapt to new developments in the future. Hope is looking forward with confidence that what needs to happen will occur. We are a small, diverse population on a big island and with a big land. By working together, we will find our way forward and we will transform our province. It is by pulling together that we have always overcome challenges. So, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude today by saying thank you very much for your engagement. Thank you very much for your presence. Let's keep working together. Thank you very much.